Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
With Robb Flynn.
What up? What up? What up? Podcast party people. How you doing? How you living? How's your day? How's your night? Whenever you're listening to this, you could be the morning, you could be at work, you could be chilling at night, like a Friday night, Thursday night. You might be listening to this right as it came out. Boom, 9 p.m. California time. Boom, midnight New York time. You could be just waking up overseas in England or Germany and 6 a.m. Boom. No fucking regrets, right in your face. In your face. Know what I'm saying? You could be like that. You could be doing that. I tell you what, though, wherever you are, I'm grateful for you listening to this podcast. Grateful for you tuning into No Fucking Regrets. This podcast is actually doing really good. It's starting to do really good, man, and I'm pretty stoked about it. Pretty stoked that you guys are digging the content, digging the vibe, digging the flow. You know what I'm saying? And in some ways, I gotta say, I don't know if the podcast would have done as good if the pandemic hadn't struck. And I say that, and I don't say that lightly, because, you know, there's many things about the pandemic that are rough and tough and suck. But, you know, the one good thing that's came out of this is that, you know, I was like, before, if I had to get a guest on, you know, I wouldn't even do it by phone. It was like I had to do it in person because I just felt like it was better in person. And Zoom wasn't, I don't know, like prior to like who the fuck knew about Zoom prior to the pandemic? You know, sure, we knew about FaceTime and Skype and stuff, but I didn't know anybody using Zoom prior to the pandemic. And, you know, so like if I had to get an interview when I was on tour, like I'd have guys come out and talk to me. Like George came out to the show from Cannibal in Florida, and we had a good podcast, and I got to talk to him for about 50 minutes, I guess. And then, you know, we had a couple after shows that were just funny and rowdy, and we're all drunk and hammered and just having a funny time. But, you know, like once I got off the road, I found it very hard. And even on the road, I found it very hard to do podcasts. You know, I'm singing for 3.5 hours. And the last thing I want to do is have a fucking hour and a half long conversation with somebody, you know, before I have to sing for 3 hours. So I got off the road, and I was, you know, I had to go out to the shows, and I'm like, you know, I'm calling up people, you know, people that I know relatively well. I'm like, hey, you want to jump on the podcast? They're like, oh, too busy, mate. You know, like, and I'm like, okay. So I got a couple of people to do it, but, you know, I had to drive all the way out to San Francisco, and then I got to bring all this shit, and I got to set up 4 mics and bring a table, and, you know, then I got 45 minutes with the person, and, you know, 45 minutes at a show is a long time. You know, like most people get a half an hour. So they were being cool to me and giving me that. But now, then the pandemic struck. I discovered Zoom, as did a lot of podcasters. And I was like, oh my God, this is way better. I can just fucking do it from my studio. They can just do it from their house. Everybody's off the road, bored out of their fucking mind. And so, yeah, like it's kind of cool that this is the way it panned out in the pandemic. And it panned out. And I don't think that it would be doing as good because of that. You know, now I can talk to people and it's like a long interview. Like I can get like some of these interviews, like that Nurgle interview, the John Joseph interview, the Mark from Suicide Silence, even Matt Heafy, you know, those were all 2-3 hour long interviews. I could have never got that much time with somebody on the road showing up to their show and talking to them for that long. I don't even know if anybody would have given me that much time under any normal circumstance. But now that we're in this crazy, topsy-turvy, everything that we knew up until now has been flipped on its fucking head, it's, it's okay. And I like it. And, like it allows people to, open up. And I think, it's not really, I've changed the way I've done them too. Now that I have more time, I've kind of like done a lot more research, and, it's less off the cuff and, topical, and just more like a deep dive into people's lives and, them growing up and their background. And it's really cool, man. Like I'm digging it. And I know you guys are digging it because I'm looking at the numbers and they're going fucking way up. Some of these, some of the biggest ones, on YouTube, it's like 20,000 people, 15,000 views and shit, which is fucking awesome, man. Some of the earlier ones are still in the 1,000, 2,000 views. So that's badass. And, not to mention that we now brought the video element into it, with Zoom, we can film the Zoom and, oh, motherfucker. Am I not recording this? I'm not recording. Oh, I am recording this. Yay. Good. I thought I wasn't recording it there for a second. Motherfucker. All right. On Zoom. I was just talking about filming on Zoom. Yeah, I'm recording it on Zoom. And now that video element, now you got that, and we can have that. And people seem to be really digging that. That's like that's kind of what's driven everything, really. And it wouldn't have happened, like if there's there's lots of shitty things about the coronavirus. There's lots of bad things about the pandemic, but you got to take a step back from time to time and go, okay, what are the good things that have happened to me since this started? There's been good things. I guarantee it. There's been good things for sure. I've talked about this a lot. The wife and I have a date night every Friday and Saturday. We rearranged our garage since the pandemic, and now we go in there and we just listen to music and we hang out. Normally that would have been maybe her going out to her friends, maybe me going out to a show to either hang or do a podcast or work. And, that slowing down has been awesome. Now we hang out and I flirt with her and I try and take her to bed and take her pants off. I try and get into her pants. And a lot of times it works. I'm having more sex in the pandemic. So that's a silver lining. That's something you got to appreciate. Don't take those little things lightly. It's nice. There's some good things that happen as a result of it. And I'm sure if you think about it, if you thought about it, you will realize that there's been some really good things that happened as well. I think you're going to dig this podcast, man. I got Michael Alago, who maybe some of you were just like, who the fuck is Michael Alago? I know Ice-T. I know who Nurgle is. Michael Alago, there's a lot of people behind the scenes that have brought you the music that you love. A lot of people behind the scenes. There's more people behind the scenes that brought you the bands you love than there are the bands you love. And, it takes quite a few wheels in motion to make a band happen and become popular and get on everybody's radar. And Michael Alago is one of those cats. Now, certainly he wasn't the first. The first people to sign and truly believe in Metallica was Johnny Z, Megaforce Records. So Johnny Z definitely gets a lot of credit there. He got them for Kill 'Em All. He gave them the money. He believed in them, and he brought them to the world. The Kill 'Em All came out. We were already. I was already turned on to the demo, but that record came out and blew minds. Same thing with Ride the Lightning. But Michael Alago, hey, God, random yawn. Michael Alago brought Metallica to the world. He was the guy who went, oh shit, this band is totally fucking happening, and they need to be on a major label with a major push and get some major fucking, push behind them, a machine behind them. And he was the one who did it. And he did that with White Zombie. He did it with lots of stuff and, lots of bands. And he's had just this fucking, honestly pretty mind-boggling career, like finding these bands and, especially White Zombie. That was fucking, I don't know if you remember when Thunder Kiss took off, but Jesus Christ, it was fucking It was beyond massive. You know, Metallica, Master of Puppets. He's working with them on Master of Puppets. He's working with them on And Justice for All, the very beginnings of the Black Album. You know, then he signs White Zombie and Sexorsisto blows up, and then More Human Than Human. Like, I mean, just fucking crazy storied career, signing bands and booking shows and growing up in New York City and just having his finger on the pulse of fucking pretty much everything that was cool in music. CBGBs, and you know, he ran the fan club for that punk rock band, the Dead Boys, with Stiv Bators, who later went on to form Lords of the New Church. And, you know, I mean, just a bunch of fucking really cool shit, man. So, you know, there's a lot of people, you know, I think that anybody who enjoyed that Monty Connor interview that I did, you know, this is definitely going to be something way up your alley here. First of all, though, before I get into Mr. Alago, let me read my sponsor, Altamont Beer Works. First of all, this podcast is put out on the Gas Digital Network. Gas Digital Network has many fine podcasts. They have got the Josta Show. They have got Legion of Skanks. They have got political shows, libertarian shows, Republican, everything in between, news show. I mean, any kind of podcast that you want. They have been killing it for me. They got a great team over there. Shout out to my producer Francis and the whole gang over there, the fucking whole gang. And yeah, they've got a bunch of good stuff. Check them out. If you like the podcast, you can go to Gas Digital every Wednesday at 3 p.m. New York time, 12 p.m. California time, and hear my podcast 2 days early. You can subscribe there if you want to. I can't remember how much it costs. I want to say it's like $4 a month or something, but you can also get access to that plus all the other Gas Digital podcasts. This podcast is also brought to you by Nuclear Blast. Nuclear Blast are the finest heavy metal label in the world. In the fucking world. They have got everybody. So many bands. They got a million bands. They're killing it. They got great physical product. I mean, the highest quality physical product we've ever put out. I mean, if you've been following us on the Bloodstone and Diamonds special edition and the Catharsis special edition, I mean, this shit was fucking next level. Like, we've never had shit this good. It was crazy awesome. They have been crushing it. They are also why you are hearing this podcast. And Altamont Beer Works is this week's sponsor. Altamont Beer Works are one of the finest craft beer breweries in all of California. They are, let me tell you about them. Often hoppy, always fresh. Cheers us. You can follow them on Instagram. You can follow them on Facebook. They're on Twitter. They're available for curbside pickup. They have California delivery, obviously, as a brewery. Their brewery, you know, you can't go. I think they serve outside maybe, but, you know, you can't go in. So they do a lot of the curbside pickup now if you want to pick it up. They got some badass fucking merchandise. I'll tell you that, too. I got to say, I fucking love their merchandise. I used to rock their hat all the time. They got some cool hats. They got some bandanas. They got some neck gaiters. They got some cool shirts. Lots of rap-themed stuff and California hella hoppy type stuff. They got some next level shit, man. Let's see. They've got all kinds of good beers out now, too. They've got some Smoke Dank Triple IPA. There's a photo of it on their Instagram. It's fucking the smokiest, weediest, dankiest beer they got. It's on a plate filled with weed. I love it. They got so much weed-themed shit. They got a beer called Maui Wowie. They got a Mac Drizzle Gold, which is a Mac Dre, the rapper. They did collabs with him. They got a Hella Light. They got a Maui Wowie IPA and a double IPA. They got a Hop Wash. They got a ton of stuff. They got some cool, they got a cute doggy on their Instagram wearing an Altamont Beer Works bandana. Yeah, they're killing it, man. And they've got, as I've told you every single time I've told you this, they have my favorite beer, the Nutty Operator, bro. The Nutty Operator is a peanut butter chocolate stout with all kinds of goodness in there. Nutty Operator is a peanut butter version of Smooth Operator, a smooth, rich, full-bodied oatmeal stout, heavy on the oats and chocolate malt. This complex beer balances out with medium roast character, followed by huge flavors and aromas of peanut butter beer. It's like drinking a Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, but not really. It's not very strong, 5.8 ABV. You can buy a case of it for $84. But if you enter the code NFR at checkout, for no fucking regrets, NFR, you get 10% off. So what's that? That's $8.40 off. I just save you money on beer, and you can get it delivered anywhere in California. Anywhere in California, or if you live in the Bay Area, you can cruise by there and pick it up yourself. They have all kinds of stuff. They've got a robust website that's very easy to use, and you should check them out. They got some good shit, man. AltamontBeerWorks.com. I am going to go to... Check this out. Michael Alago used to be he loved the band The Dead Boys. Favorite punk rock band. Just fucking crazy, very influenced by Iggy Pop and just that crazy fucking maniacal scene that they were in. And, playing CBGBs, he's in a couple of their live videos, just headbanging up front, and he decided to start their fan club for them. Like, he was just so into the music, and I think he was like 14 or 15, and he decided to start the fan club for them. So if you never heard the Dead Boys, check out Sonic Reducer, bro. This shit's hard. Good stuff. This is good on stereo, too. It's going left guitar, right guitar, left guitar, right guitar. This is 70s punk rock. This is drugged out punk rock.
I don't need anyone. Don't need no mom and dad. Don't need no pretty face. Don't need no human race. I've got some news for you. Don't even need you to. I got my damn machine. Got my electronic dream. Sonic Reducer ain't no loser.
Sonic Reducer.
I'm a Sonic Reducer ain't no loser.
This is What Love Is.
I don't need none of your pleasure brew sweet mouth. And I don't need none of your spoiled
Boy, this is hard. This is for 70s. This is hard,
Right in your face with my pretty knob. I want some with your precious smile.
But I can tell you what. He then signs Metallica to Elektra Records.
You know what love is.
He signs Metallica to Electric Records. And they're not really giving up any music to him. He hasn't heard much, but he just knows the band is killing it. And this isn't the day when they kind of let bands do the thing. This is what he hears as the first track. Can you imagine being an A&R guy? This is only the second band you've ever signed at a major label. And you're like, hey, I need to hear some tracks. Like, what are you guys doing over there? Like, we're spending some money on you guys. Like, I need to hear what you're doing. Make sure you're not fucking up. So they're like, all right, check it out. And they send them Disposable Heroes. You'd just be like, holy shit. But then, can you imagine? They're sending him tracks periodically. Periodically, he's getting little cassettes all the way from Copenhagen or Denmark, wherever they are. And it's like, oh, here's some more progress, man. Here's some more songs. Lars is sending it. Lars then sends him this. Can you imagine? Can you fucking imagine being, you're 24 years old and you get this and you're like, oh my God, I got something on my hands here. And I'm sure everybody at Elektra Records at this point is like, I don't fucking get it. Like, I don't get it. Where's the hit? They're like, this is the hit. This is gonna be a song so big, so timeless. And everybody at the record company at that time probably just like, what? Like, no, yeah, believe it. In 30 years, people will still be singing this fucking song. Yeah. Or can you imagine the next record getting this? Can you imagine this coming into your cassette? Your hands off. You went through a crazy time with the band. And you're an A&R guy, and this is what the band that you signed sends you at your major label. So then he gets to the Black Album, then just before the Black Album, he bails and goes to a different record company, and he talks about that. And the first band he signs there is this band. And at the time, they're kind of a noisy band. They hadn't really done anything, but he sees something in them, and then kind of they craft this album. And at some point, the guys in the band in White Zombie turn in this song. They turn in this motherfucker right here, and you're like, oh shit! Ugh. You know what? You're just like, you're over the moon. You're over the fucking moon. You know what I mean? You're just like, are you kidding me? And again, record company doesn't get it. They just believe in Michael, and they're like, okay. And Michael's like, this is gonna be huge. They're like, okay. There's no singing, but they're fucking cool. And this is the next song that you get. Next album, they turn in this song. I'm listening on headphones right now. This shit's so good in headphones. It's like left and right, and it's stereo mania. It's awesome. It's got porn in the beginning. Can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with porn in the beginning of your song. Never. In fact, I need to put porn in the beginning of one of my songs. That shit's fucking beastly right there. Listen to those drums. Oh my God. Fucking huge. But then he leaves there right after this signing, and actually a couple more, and he goes and he signs this girl. He signs this lady. Birds flying high, you know how I feel. And if you don't know this voice, sun in the sky, you know how I feel. This song is butter. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day. It's a new life for me, yeah. It's a new dawn, it's a new day. It's a new life for me. Woo, woo, woo. And I'm feeling good. Ooh, I love that. That's a fucking jam right there. It's hard. You know how I feel. So Amy Winehouse. River running free. You know how I feel. Blossom on the tree. You know how I feel. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life. Right there.
And I'm feeling good.
Ladies and gentlemen, get your mind and your body ready to feel good for Mr.
Dragonfly out in the sun,
Michael
you know what I mean.
Alago. I'm stoked to have you on, man. How are
Me
you?
too. I'm pretty good. Why not? So let me know when we're starting, so then I don't tell you anything fantastic and it's not being taped.
No, it's all being taped. We're all good. We're all going.
Oh, we're going already?
We're going right now, man.
Oh,
We're going
shit.
right now.
Okay, calm down. Yeah, well, everything is good on my end, I'm here in New York City in quarantine. I go out every so often. I go to the pharmacy. I go to the grocery store. I take a long walk by the West Side Highway, by the Hudson River, and just, space out. If I don't do that, I'm sitting at home watching too much MSNBC news channel.
Some Rachel Maddow.
I like
Rachel
her.
Maddow.
Yep.
I do like her. I like her too.
If I'm watching too much MSNBC, I flip it over to TCM, Turner Classic Movies, so I can get a little Humphrey Bogart and Glenn Ford
Nice.
and all those old black and white 1940s film noir films in.
Nice.
They're pretty good.
Nice.
Everybody's like a bad guy in those films. They're really excellent movies. Really
They
beautifully made.
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah, I used to watch all those, man. I used to watch a lot of Abbott and Costello when I was growing up too.
I just every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Abbott and Costello meets the Mummy, meets the Wolfman. Yes,
Dracula.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh
Bela
yeah, I
Lugosi
just
in
watched
there.
one of them the other day. I think all three of those characters were in one movie.
I know.
But yeah,
it's so good.
That kind of comedy and those kind of noir films, they just can't make those things anymore. It's just not like a thing they can do. I don't feel.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know if there would be a, it was a different time. I think
Absolutely.
I think that the conversation, that's having, it still holds up. Some of them is a lot of like classic, just like dialogue, but I think some of the dialogue now would be so like, it would just be weird for people like, whoa, what the fuck? Like,
really, some of the movies that I have just watched, In a Lonely Place with Humphrey Bogart and Gloria Graham. And then one of my favorite movies of all time is Gilda with Rita Hayworth and Glenn Ford. She was like at her most beautiful then. It was like drop dead. What? And the dialogue holds up. And I don't want for anything because the movies are just so good. But I hear what you're saying as well. There's so many things on Amazon Prime and on Netflix, and I look at everything and I go to myself, I'm going back to TCM. Yeah.
At least you know that, right? Like you know what you're getting into.
Yes, sir. So listen,
I gotta say,
wait, I just heard not the EP the other day, but the song "Stop the Bleeding," and I love that. What's his name? Jesse Leach.
Yeah, Jesse Leach.
He looks amazing. That voice is something else. And you two like sparring there. I just thought this is incredible. Amazing.
Right on, man.
So, thank you. Thank you for the good music. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was a fun. It wasn't a fun song, but it was a fun collaboration in the sense that we were
like necessary right now.
Yeah. Yeah, he killed it. He's awesome. Kill Switch Engage, he's out there killing it with them, man.
Good stuff.
Shout out to Jesse.
Yes. Hi, Jesse.
I just watched your movie. Your movie's awesome. Man, so much good shit in there, dude.
Well, thank you very much.
What a story.
We made it on a shoestring budget. I think we made it for we got $35,000 from Kickstarter, and then we needed another 10. So I asked Rob Zombie, I asked Cyndi Lauper, I asked a few friends. So then I think we might have made it for $45,000, which is not a lot of money at all.
No.
Considering we were traveling to all of the artists who may have been on the West Coast or down south or wherever. And but thank you very much.
The scene that stuck in both my wife's head is where you're walking through I guess what was formerly the gay district of New York or whatever.
The meatpacking district.
The meatpacking district. Too funny. So we're sitting there and like, I guess like you're walking down, and then I guess if you want to hook up with somebody, like there's a payphone. Let me paint this for everybody, so maybe you can fill in the blanks here. But you walk down this street, there's a payphone. If the payphone's ringing, you answer it. You look up, there might be a guy jerking off in his window, and you go, "Oh hey, yeah, what's up?" You go and then you go hook up with them.
True. Yeah, we there was a lot of talking heads in the movie. So Drew Stone, our fearless director, said, "You know what? I think we should do some animation because it'll not throw people off, but it'll break stuff up." So we have 6 bits of animation in there. And I lived near the West Side Highway on Washington Street in Greenwich Village. And so we knew one of those things was going to be really funny. So, of course, here I am coming home, my leather jacket, my Misfits hat, fully tanked. And yes, it was a thing that if the payphone rang, you answered it, and it's like, "What's up?" And the person would inevitably be jerking off in the window. And if they looked hot, you'd say, "What apartment are you at?" You go, you have a whack, and you go back home, and that's it.
Oh my God, my wife and I were laughing so fucking hard.
Those were the good old days.
Right. I mean, it was just fascinating that you went so much into it, which I thought was great. You know what I mean? Like, because anybody who might be watching it might be like, "Oh yeah, the guy who signed Metallica, cool." Like, and then you're gonna get like, "Whoa, holy crap!" Like, it was the Tinder of its day, essentially, right?
the payphones were the Tinder of its days. But I thought it would doing a lot of this stuff that might have been a lot risque. I thought it was more palatable for people to appreciate as an illustration, as a
Yes.
almost comic book like.
Yes,
you get a good
totally.
laugh out of it, considering like, "Oh, I never heard of that before." Yes. So I'm glad you liked the film.
I remember George Takei told some crazy story about, I think, that time period as well, where like you could go to some park somewhere in New York, and basically like some dude would be in the bushes, and if you just like whipped out your dick, he would suck your dick or something.
Well, that was. I'm just responding for a friend,
All right.
So,
right.
Yeah, as they say. That was called The Rambles, and that was all the way up in Central Park. And it was scary. I went there, me and my friend Tim just thought as a goof we would go there, but in the daytime, where nothing went on in the daytime, but we just had to like look around because, honey, that shit must have been. That's one thing for some reason I never went there. Not because I didn't want to, but it was scary. Going in Central Park like at midnight, you don't know who the F is in that place. So I just figured there's a lot of payphones and stuff going around, going to bars. I don't need to do that. But yes, it was a thing back then as well.
What do you are you single? Do you have a boyfriend?
No, I hate everybody. No, I've been single for 100 years. It doesn't interest me to be in a relationship. I'm 60 and I find it hard to meet people too. So I have lots of friends. If I feel like I want to have sex, there's always this bodybuilder down the street. He's like 250 pounds. I tell him to come over, let's have a whack. And 20 minutes later, he's gone. I'm back on Facebook or on TCM, and I'm like cool, calm, and collective. So that's how I work it. But no, I'm single, been single forever, and it's just how I like it. I don't think I could put up with anybody in my home.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting too, because I think especially being in New York now with the fucking lockdown and coronavirus and like so many infections, I think it would be hard. I just talking to Nurgle from Behemoth, and he's also single, and I'm just like, what do you do? Like, how do you get pussy now? Like, how do you get a date? Like, what do you do? He's like, well, there's still Tinder, but like, it's probably just better to read a book and jack off now.
This is true. And there's always still porn and all those cams. You could watch these cams,
Yeah. I never do the cams. I never do the cams.
I've occasionally done them. They're fun. And, I'm like so fucking bossy, man. It's like, this is what it's about, dude. Either we're doing this or I gotta go.
Right. You got a limited amount of time, man.
Oh my, right. With me anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I got to say, the movie though was fucking awesome, dude. Like, just such what an incredible story. I mean, just going back to, growing up in Brooklyn, Puerto Rican kid, at some point you discover, I mean, I think that at least in my mind, like 70s Brooklyn kind of encapsulates, at least from, living in California, kind of everything macho, like
Well, yeah.
every dude is just out to bang broads, and you know what I
Sure.
mean? Like,
Sure.
like that's kind of, I mean, and then here you come and like kind of a different, at some point, like, I mean, you're obviously seeing all this kind of like super macho kind of dudes around, and like, are you trying to act like that, like as a kid growing up, or are you just,
Hell no. First of all, I always tell people, well, first of all, I came out of the womb loving music. I was never in the closet. I had no fear of who I was growing up. I don't know where that came from, that bravado. I just always had it in my head, you were either going to like me or you're not going to like me, and I really didn't care. So just a little bit about 70s Brooklyn. I lived underneath Utrecht Avenue, which was the elevated train. So there's there's a Borough Park, which is mostly Hasidic Jews. I don't know how me, my mom, and my sister wound up there. Right next to that is Bay Ridge, and then fucking Bensonhurst. Bensonhurst, so where we lived, I would walk 7 blocks to Lemoore.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes, sir.
That's
and then
amazing.
If I wanted to go to 86th Street to Bensonhurst, I'd take the B train like 3 stops. And right there was like a place called the Farm, where they used to have like these elephant bell bottoms and all this cool kind of platform marshmallow shoes.
Oh shit! Okay, right.
And if you went to 86th
like Paul's
Street,
Boutique could have been in Bensonhurst,
of course,
right? Okay, gotcha.
And then if you went east a little bit, it's where Travolta filmed Saturday Night Fever, and I forget right now what the disco was called there. Yeah, it was there. And I remember one day I saw this film company when I was looking out the window, and I walked about 6 blocks down. It was Gene Hackman, and they were filming The French Connection. So even though like I wasn't looking for all this action, I lived in this neighborhood where all this stuff was going on all the time.
That's crazy. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Odyssey Disco, I guess it's called.
Is that what it's called? The Odyssey? I think, wait, it might have been.
Yeah. That's it. My producer just sent that over.
Francis,
he's like, Odyssey
thank
Disco.
you, even though I can't see you. But yeah, Brooklyn was something. And like I said, with everything in my life, I just never had fear. You know what? That's not true. I had professional fear that I wasn't good enough to do my job at a very early age when I first started. And, growing up in an old school Hispanic family, you don't tell people your business. You don't say what goes on in the house, and you don't ask for anything. You never ask. So that kind of screwed me up a little bit. But luckily, that screwing up happened my first 3 years. I was 19 years old. I was the assistant music director at the Ritz, which everybody knows as Webster Hall these days. And I worked a lot of that out of my system so that once after those 3 years were up there and I knew I wanted a little more, I didn't know what that more was, but I wound up getting an A&R job at Elektra Records.
Yeah. There's a famous Guns N' Roses video from the Ritz that played on MTV. It's like 1,000, it's like them playing 1,000-seater, and it's maybe one of the most exciting hour and 15 minutes of fucking music you'll ever watch. Like, it is rock and fucking roll. To me, I remember seeing that. I don't know. Did you have anything to do with that? Like, like that might have been later, right? Yeah.
Yes, it was. I think it must have been like 86 or 87, or maybe it was even, could it have been?
I want to say 87. I want to say it was right around the record, right when the record dropped.
Francis, do you know?
Francis.
Do you know when that was? It could have been 86.
You start going out to shows, and you're in this kind of fucking just cool ass area, and then your family's living surrounded by a bunch of Hasidic Jews. You're right next to your room is what, like 10 feet away from the subway trains that go by? I
lived in a railroad apartment, and my room was the front room. So if I just opened up my window and went like that, there was the B train, and my room was very narrow. So I used to watch TV till late at night, and every time the B train or the train just went by, I'd have to turn up the volume. But once I fell asleep, nothing could wake me up.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
fucking. That's
I'm
impressive.
Sure if I lived in LA and there was an earthquake, I'd probably sleep through the whole damn thing. Yeah.
Right. So you somewhere around here, you start going out. Do you ever go to discos? Like, do you ever go to the discos, like where all this shit's happening? Like
Sure.
this is like, Saturday Night Fever kind of shit. I did
go there a couple times, but no, mostly at a very early age. I started going to Lemoore, Max's Kansas City, CBGB, Great Gildersleeves. There was A7 on Avenue A in the East Village. I was always like a rock and roll.
You wanted to get in the city. Yeah, you wanted to get in the city.
Oh, yeah. And I have no idea at that very early age why my mom would let me go out. And I think it was because, she said if you did good in school, you could go out. And New York was scary then, Yeah. It was at times in the 70s, it was called Fear City. And there's no nonsense, babe. It was like, you get on the train and I'm a little tiny thing. I'm 15, 16. I look like I'm 12. I get off on Broadway Lafayette on the Bowery and it's dirty. It's filthy. There are, junkies and homeless people. But you know what? I had to make my way to where the music was. And I'd get to CBGB and Hilly Crystal, the owner, would always say to us kids, I know you're underage. You can come in. If I see you with liquor, off with your head, and you get like a 2-week suspension or something. We didn't really care because we hit all the beer, the 6-packs outside. We guzzle everything and then make our way into CB's. Nice. Like, we don't need to drink, Hilly. Thanks a lot. And it was really, Rob, it was really a fantastic time because literally every single night there was something going on in New York. Like, for real.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just looking at all of the photos you've got with just you at Max's Kansas City and so many characters in that one fucking building, so many rock stars, Robert Plant and David. I don't know if you were around during then, but like that was just a fucking crazy time. I mean, that would have been, I don't know if that was like too late for Aerosmith coming around then, like would they've been like hanging out at bars like that?
Let's just think about that. When did let's see, if I'm going to those places in 77, when did Get Your Wings come out?
I want to say it might have been earlier than that. Yeah.
No, it might have been that time period. Anyway, a lot of those bands were starting to get big already. I was, prior to me getting to Max's, at one point, Bruce Springsteen played there a couple of nights in a row. Bob Marley played there. I mean, the place was like on the second floor of a small space with just all these long tables. But
it was just a club, right? It was just a club, right?
Small club. Yeah. Small area where there were all these tables, and then there was a big bar, and then there was the door. But I got there.
Did you see Bob Marley? Did you see the Bob Marley?
I was just saying that Bob and Springsteen were a little too early for me. So I got to all these places during the punk rock period. In 76, 75, 76, 77, I practically lived at CBGB. And as a kid, I don't know how I knew. I kept journals and these composition books. And there was nothing poetic about it, and there was nothing, it was not creative writing, but I made these lists, like taking the B train to Union Square. Next weekend's 3 nights of the British invasion of the Damned and the Dead Boys at CB's, and I'm going to go to all 3 nights. And, so I made these lists forever until it did become kind of creative writing for me. But that's, like I have like half a brain sometimes because of all the drinking, the drugs that I did back in the day. And so thank God I have all these journals that help me write my book. But it was so much fun. I mean, I saw everybody right when their first albums came out. Blondie, Patti Smith, the Ramones, the Dead Boys, Young, Loud, and Snotty on Sire Records.
They were on Sire? Holy shit.
Sire Records, yeah. The Dead Boys were on Sire. The Ramones were on Sire. Talking Heads were on Sire. Richard Hell and the Voidoids. Yeah.
I mean, that was like, they were Sire was part of Warner at that point? That was like basically a major label.
Run by Seymour Stein, and they were distributed through Warner Brothers. There's about, I'll get you, I don't think you might, I don't think you have my book, but there's about 85 really cool pictures in my book. And this was a flyer I made of the Dead Boys when I was 14.
Nice.
And I said, join the fan club. And,
That's
what
right.
did I know at 14 about running a fan club? So I made this one zine, which was cut and paste, of course. And it was called All This and More, based on one of their tunes. And it was the only one that I made. But I've stayed friends with them all to this day, like Johnny Blitz, the drummer. And, Stiv, unfortunately, died in Paris in either 90 or 94. He was in the street. I think he bent over, a car hit his head, and the girl he was seeing back then didn't take him to the hospital, burned back to a hotel, and he passed away. He was something. Stib Baders was really, really something.
Yeah, I mean, the footage you show in the movie of him when he walks out on stage and he's got 3 pieces of bologna stapled to his chest. And at some point he takes them, blows his nose into it, and then eats the bologna. I was like,
that's punk rock, man. That's punk rock.
Yeah.
Yes,
so good.
You never knew.
I mean, I could see it. I don't really know much about the Dead Boys, so that really was my first experience seeing the Dead Boys, was watching your movie. And I got to say, like, seeing that movie, I could see what you saw. I mean, you're a 14-year-old kid. I mean, it was fucking crazy. They looked, like it was like he had super crazy flexibility. Like he was a rock star. Like it was fucking
rock star. I would always call him the bastard child of Iggy Pop, because that was, he loved Iggy Pop, and you could tell, but he was his own person on that stage as well. Yeah. Great times, really great times. I mean, a lot of that couldn't even happen today.
Yeah.
For many reasons.
No, for sure. I mean, like just like security and insurance alone, like the shit that went on.
Nobody thought about any of that stuff back then.
Right.
I don't think,
I mean, when I first started going to shows, I was going to Ruthie's Inn here in, this is all in the Bay Area. So I was going to Ruthie's Inn. I was going to the Stone. I was going to the Mabuhay Gardens. It was fucking lawless. Like it was completely lawless. There was no security. There was no barricades. It was, I don't want to say it was like mob rule. There was like one guy at the door.
Right. There was exactly.
Yeah,
there was only the doorman, who was like doorman security, and that was it. That was it. Funny, I graduate from high school, and I decide I'm going to the West Coast, to San Francisco, of course. The Dead Boys are coming out there to play with the Mumps, and my first show, I went to the Mabuhay Gardens to see the Nuns and the Avengers.
Badass.
And lost my mind. I meet this guy, Don Vinyl, from the Offs there. They were like a punk reggae band, and their first record, I forget what label it came out on, but it was like totally independent. And the artwork was by Jean-Michel Basquiat. And, but anyway, so, I mean, like that's the first time I'm going to San Fran. So after the Avengers were over, I was like, oh my God, you're my favorite band. Could I come to you? I had like fucking balls. I didn't care. So the next day I went to their rehearsal space, and I got to shoot photographs of them, and I got a great contact sheet, but there's one picture of them just lounging on the sofa with drinking beer that is so great. And then recently there's a gal who took pictures during that whole time period named Ruby Ray, and she put out a book, I don't know, 9 months ago, called California Cool. California with a K, cool with a K. I opened it up, and there I am, standing in the front with my Lonely Ladies Iggy Pop t-shirt on, my long furry hair, with my fists in the air, and I'm like, holy shit, that's me. So I was all over all the time. I just had to be where the music was. That was the focus.
Yeah. I'm listening to you, and it's so it's so interesting to me. Like I was so fucking introverted, as like I could have never done anything that you just talked about when I was like that age. Like I couldn't, like I wanted to be there and I was in the mix, but like I couldn't have just gone like, hey, let me go to your rehearsal tomorrow. I just couldn't do that. I was so fucking introverted. Not that I didn't want to. I just didn't have the whatever that was to do that. And it's funny because I think about like what you're telling me is kind of like in a lot of ways like what Lars from Metallica would do. Like Lars is 15. He forces his way backstage to a Motorhead gig, like becomes friends with Motorhead, like ends up hanging out like while they're writing Iron Fist in their fucking rehearsal room. I'm like, that's crazy. Like that's just so fucking like that. I admire that. I think it's so cool that you just obviously like that's just something you're not trying to do. You're just like that way, like, hey, like what's going on, like
yeah. That's why we're all here. We were all meant to be in music in one shape or form or another. I don't play an instrument or anything, so I would talk to my artists in layman's terms. It worked for 25 years, and I have no idea where I'm going with this. Yeah.
Oh, good. What? So you get a gig somewhere. Start getting a gig with the Ritz, which is pretty cool spot, and you turn it into a real cool spot by bringing in. You've got your finger on the pulse, and
sure. I'm going to the school. It's 1980. I'm going to the School of Visual Arts. I work at a pharmacy in the East Village on Astor Place, which is equivalent to East 8th Street. I'm taking lunch one day. I see this beautiful Art Deco building, and there's just a little white piece of paper, like 8 by 10 on the door. It says, Video Club opening, resumes wanted. So I thought, I'm going in this building. And now keep in mind, MTV had just started. It was the advent of MTV. So I get in the building, it's friggin' beautiful. And there's a man in the balcony, and it's like the Wizard of Oz. And he's like, kid, what do you want? And I'm like, I want a job. I want to work in a video club. And he said, well, we're not open. Could you just leave your resume? And basically, honest to God, I didn't know like what a resume was. I said, resume? He said, yes. I said, I don't have one. And he just thought that was funny or something. And he called me up to his office. His name is Jerry Brandt. In the 60s on St. Mark's Place, he ran the Electric Circus where Jimi Hendrix and the Chambers Brothers and everybody played.
Wow.
Then at one point, he was in the mail room working at the William Morris Agency with David Geffen. He became a junior agent, and he brought the Rolling Stones to the United States. He managed Sam Cooke. He managed Muhammad Ali. He discovered Carly Simon.
Holy shit.
And
crazy.
I didn't know any of this. I know this in retrospect, but sitting there, I'm like this kid, like dazed. And we just start talking about the Great American Songbook from the 1940s and 50s to what's going on in New York underground. And he was an older gentleman, so he appreciated that I knew all of that. And he said,
what's the Great American Songbook? What is that? The
Great American Songbook is music from the big band era. Irving Berlin, vocalists and from the 30s, 40s, and 50s.
Right.
That's the big band era. That's the Great American. Right. That's what's considered.
Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, Company
Correct.
B, and stuff.
That's considered the Great American Songbook. And he said, I like you. I'm going to give you a job. You're going to open my mail, you're going to get my lunch, and you're going to answer my phone. And I thought to myself, oh my God, I'm in the music business. But you know
Holy
what?
Shit.
That was the beginning. I was 19, and I was there part-time at first until I said to the pharmacy, I got to go. And I became a full-time. I was like a sponge. I listened to everything Jerry said on the telephone. He was talking to booking agents every single day. That room the main room holds about, 1,500-1,600 people or so. So I listened to everything. So about a year in, I learned how to speak to Ian Copeland at FBI and talk to him about booking the Stiff Tour with, Raina Lovich and Ian Dury and the Blockheads and blah, blah, blah. And so I did that for 3 years.
How much were you making? How much are you making at this point?
Oh, nothing really. I don't think I'm making
$10 a day or something. Yeah.
I didn't think about money. I probably made a minimal amount of money. It was that, oh my God, I'm in the music.
You're working at a club. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was there from 10 to 7, and then sometimes, most of the time, I went back at night. And You know, I
It was
remember-
also a disco. It was also like it also had like a club night too. Or
Not
dance night or
really.
something?
No.
No, okay. All live
not
music.
at all. It's all live music, yeah. Except sometimes, maybe on a Tuesday, we couldn't get anybody. We'd have like video night. So we would show Pink Flamingos, The Decline of Western Civilization.
Okay.
And
Oh, shit,
it was
nice.
$2.50.
Nice.
So, so it's 3 years I'm there. I know there's something more going on. I was going out with this guy named Mitchell, and he said, you know, Michael, my dad's leaving Warner Brothers, and he's going to go re-up Elektra Records. Elektra Records was in the friggin' crapper. The people prior to
that guy who owns the Ritz, his dad's going to run Elektra.
No. I work for Jerry at the Ritz. I'm seeing somebody named Mitchell. And Mitchell says, you know, Michael, I know you want to leave there, and my dad's leaving Warner Brothers. What, you want me to set up an interview? And I didn't want to lie to Jerry. I said, you know, Jerry, I want to do more, and I hear Bob Krasnow is going to go run Elektra. So Jerry said, Michael, I don't want to lose you, but Bob Krasnow is a colleague of mine, and if you want to go, I will speak to him as well. So Bob is hearing about me from both ends, on a personal and a professional level. I had that same conversation with Bob about music, and Bob loved art. So we were talking about all the art scene in New York then. Keith Haring, Jean-Michel Basquiat, Robert Longo, all these people who are up and coming. So I had this interview with him. 2 weeks later, he called and he said, you know what, I like you. I'm giving you a job in the A&R department. And I was like,
shit.
Oh, Bob, wow. This is incredible. Thank you. So
How old are you?
Wait. I had to call a friend of mine in the business. I said, what does A&R mean? Honey, they laughed in my face. You know, I'm getting an A&R job. I have no idea what A&R meant. I soon find out, for our listeners out there who may not know, it's artist and repertoire. The A&R department is the most important department at a record company. If you do not have great artists and you do not make great records, you don't have a record company, and you're out on your ass. So it's, you know, basically that job is sink or swim. I decided to swim for 25 years.
Yeah. How old are you?
Now?
No, at that point. Yeah.
I don't know, 22, 23.
Nice.
Yeah, 22, 23. Yeah.
I mean, that's a big job for that age. You know, that's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of responsibility.
Yes. But
Elektra is a major at this point. They've got major artists.
Been a major. It was started in the 50s by a man named Jack Holzman, and it went through a lot of hands over the years. But yes, it was. I believe it was almost always distributed through Time Warner. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're 22, 23. You just get your first A&R gig. Mm-hmm. You're like, I need to sign a pop band or like something that's going to blow up super fast, or what is that what you're?
I don't think I mean,
are they asking you to like bring a certain type of band?
No, Bob was, he had a blind faith in me. Thank God. And I don't think I was smart enough then to know, I better find a million seller. So I signed friends of mine from New Jersey called Shrapnel. Now, Shrapnel, Phil Caivano wound up being in Monster Magnet. Daniel Ray wound up being in Masters of Reality, Ronnie Spector's band.
Right.
He wrote and produced the Ramones. And the vocalist, Dave Windorf, wound up being the vocalist for Monster Magnet. But at that point in time, they were young kids from Red Bank, New Jersey. They were a pop band. I had Richie Cordell produce them, who produced Tommy James and the Shandells, and they made an EP. Oh, and then one of the tracks was produced by Vince Ely from the Psychedelic Furs. It was an EP. It was 5 songs. It got good, decent college play. Nobody was really interested in them at Elektra, so I had to release them from their contract. What I learned from that is you don't sign your friends.
Right.
So at that point in time, I wound up meeting with Johnny Z for Megaforce Records. You know, Megaforce Records is a very creative young label. They had really no money. They were able to make some records, but that was the beginning and the end of it. Then.
I mean, totally. Yeah. I mean, that was Raven. They had,
Raven, Metallica, Anthrax, Testament, Overkill, and John.
But I mean, I want to say right at the beginning, like Raven was one of the big bands that was on Megaforce.
Yes,
before Metallica.
And funny you say that because John sent me a box of records, and he said, Michael, I think they're going to be super big, and I need them to be on a major. I gave John $5,000, and I said, give me back your best 5 songs. But the problem was I heard Kill 'Em All. Wait, I got to get up. I know I'm sorry to do this to you, but it's important. Everybody's got to wait for a minute.
All right. We'll wait for you. No problem.
Okay, nobody's leaving. Nobody's leaving.
No, they're still tuned in.
Okay, so I meet with John.
But like if you're in the punk scene and you're in like kind of the underground metal scene at this point, like the underground metal scene is really starting to pop. Like me and my friends, we got turned on to a million Metallica bootlegs and No Life to Leather demo, and there you go, No Life to Leather demo. But I was gonna say this came around and this is all people were talking about.
Well, this little demo is the most duplicated demo of any metal band out there.
That's rad. He's
showing it. I think it started being duplicated. It was released to the underground in around 82, 83. And, I was at that time that the underground scene, it was, as you know, is all about handing out flyers to everybody. Tapes were going around. Now,
tape trading.
This didn't really hit my desk until the beginning of 84. And I have like a bootleg of a bootleg of a bootleg.
Okay, right,
that No Life to Leather is even spelled wrong. Now, there was never a B-side. No, there was never a B-side to this 7 songs. And so I never bothered. So one day I flipped it over, and what the hell do I hear? Like Lars, it sounds like Lars and friends in a kitchen talking about how much they love Hamburger Helper and vodka. Funny. And then, of course, as we all may know or not know, once they got 30 years later, they were released from Elektra. They started their label Blackened. And in 2015, on Record Day, they decided to release it themselves.
Oh, shit. Oh, is that the cassette of that?
That's the cassette.
Nice.
That they released on Blackened with, I think it's Lars's handwriting. And they remastered it. And it's listenable.
Does it have the conversation about hamburger and vodka?
No. I think that's why this was so bootlegged that I got like a weird copy, and the demo always said "turn down bass on amp."
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, great stuff. So anyway, just because my mind can start being all over the place. John gives me this.
You didn't hear them until 84. I want to say the record came out. Kill 'Em All came out.
No. We can backtrack here. Me and Phil Carano went in 83 to see them at Lemoore.
Okay.
Who'd they play with at Lemoore? Not Venom. Anyway,
Raven?
We go there. I then
Raven?
go. What?
Was it Raven?
No, not at Lemoore. Okay. I'll remember in a minute. So that's 83. It's 83, 84 now. I'm at Elektra.
So first time you see Metallica.
Yeah.
Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you like, oh my God?
I loved every waking moment of it.
You never. You're going into the band, seeing the band cold. You've never heard the record.
Right, John. My friend Phil and I, we heard about them, and we were like, we got to go see them. And it's 7 blocks from my house, so we went, and we lost our shit. And it was really, it was over the top. Remember, we were all listening to a bit more traditional stuff then, whether it was Priest or Maiden or Black Sabbath. I mean, those were heavy, but it was in retrospect, it's traditional. And then these young people come along and rip the roof off of heavy metal, doing this thing that was then labeled, I think, by Kerrang! Magazine called thrash. Anyway, so I'm at Elektra. At some point, I have stuff to do on the West Coast, so I go to Stone and I see.
Wait. Do you meet Metallica at this Lemoore thing?
No.
Okay.
No. My plan was, maybe because I'm still at the Ritz in this part of '83.
Okay. We haven't even gotten the job at the Ritz. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. The only thing I was thinking was, maybe I should just book them at the Ritz. Never happened. fast forward. I'm now 83, beginning at Elektra. 83, 84, I meet John. We talk about his label. I give him money for demos for Raven. They were excellent demos, but I heard Kill 'Em All, and that blew my mind. I knew they were playing at the Stone, and so I go to the Stone.
In San Francisco.
Yes.
In San Francisco, okay.
And that's when I completely thought, I have to have these people in my life. I thought James was and still is, one of the all-time great frontmen. He was a ringleader. He knew how to whip a crowd into a frenzy, people fucking bought into it. When it was over, I went back real quick. I guess I caught Lars somewhere in the room. I said, I'm Michael Alago. Here's my business card. I work for Elektra Records. I know you're on a label, but listen, I'm the guy. So I go back home. Some time passes by. And
what show? Who is this? Is this what show is this at the Stone that you go see? Is this part of the Raven tour?
No. It was just
it's just a headline. It's a headline show. Yeah,
packed.
Okay.
So I'm back in New York. I'm still talking to John. I let him know, Johnny Z. I let him know I don't want to sign Raven. But at some point, I let him know on the telephone I really want to sign Metallica. As you can imagine, there was a dead silence. The rest of the conversation did not go well. So I don't remember exactly what happened. You're not going to take Metallica from me. So, we were still talking, but so Lars calls and says, I don't know if you're still interested in us, but we're coming to play Roseland August 3rd, 1984, and it's with Raven and Anthrax. I'm like, buddy, I'm going to come. So is
this Ride the Lightning? Because is Ride the Lightning?
Let's see. Ride the Lightning 1 month before July 84. Ride the Lightning comes out on Megaforce. Megaforce squeeze as many records as they can out there because they already know I want to sign them. It's August 84. They ripped the roof off Roseland. There must have been 3,500 people there. They were the middle act. They weren't even the headlining act.
Wow.
And I was so drunk. I lost my mind. And I went backstage and I'm like screaming and hugging and kissing everybody. And Lars is European. He understands.
He totally used to it.
Right. Yeah. So everybody's like, who's the guy? And he said, James, this is Michael Alago from Elektra Records. Now, listen, if I'm 24, they're 22 and 23. I have short hair. I must have had a Plasmatic shirt on or a Misfit shirt on. Did I look like a corporate executive? Did not. Never did. But once Lars said that this is the guy from Elektra, we all drank and everything backstage. The next day, the band was in my office in the conference room.
In the Elektra office.
Elektra Records conference room. And I let them know we're going to do this, and everybody will be happy in the end. So that day, all four of them came up. We had Chinese food and beer, and they were asking about the history of Elektra, or they knew certain artists. So it's 84, and there's no CDs then. So I give them vinyl and cassettes of The Doors, the MC5, the Stooges. Yeah, and I don't know who else. Cliff Burton says to me, you got any Simon and Garfunkel? I'm like, Cliff, darling, we don't have Simon and Garfunkel. But if you really want...
Simon and Garfunkel.
Was
Simon and Garfunkel on Elektra at some point?
No, I said, Cliff, I can call friends at CBS. And he said, well, what do you have that's like different? So we were distributing this esoteric label called None Such. And, it was just esoteric. And I gave him a box of all that stuff. He loved it.
What's like Indian music? Like what?
It's chanting. It's birds chirping in the forest for an hour and a half.
All right.
It's just stuff that was.
That's funny that he would be interested in that.
Yeah, very different. So.
Did you talk to him much? Did you talk to Cliff much?
No, that day I had our chairman come into the office, and because Bob and our head of promotion came to Roseland. I don't think they understood what was going on, but Bob said, if Michael wants you here, we want you here. And he left. And
nice.
I felt like that day kind of sort of cemented the deal. I mean, there was stuff that had to go on. Megaforce's business affairs people had to talk to our business affairs people. And, in the end, as they say, money talks. So Megaforce walked away with a financially great in perpetuity deal.
Wow.
And and we got Metallica. You know?
They got a piece of Master of Puppets, right? Megaforce.
Let's see. Well, we had to give them a piece of Kill 'Em All when we picked it up after the fact.
Oh shit.
November of '84, we put out our own version of Ride the Lightning on that record, and on Master of Puppets. Yes, on Master of Puppets too. We had to put their logo the same size as the Elektra logo. There were these minute things that we had to wind up doing. But Elektra's first real record with Metallica was Master of Puppets.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, but Megaforce got a cut of that. That's crazy. Yeah.
Probably, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, you know what? All's well that ends well financially as well.
Yeah. Right.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
I mean, what a crazy, exciting time too. I mean, it must have been really, like, obviously Metallica. I mean, I'm from the Bay Area. I was the teenager going, if you were the teenager going to the Dead Boys, I was the teenager going to Metallica and Exodus and all that stuff.
Incredible.
And so, we were watching, that ascent of them, and it's just like, holy
It's
fuck,
mind-boggling.
2 nights at the Kabuki on Ride the Lightning, both sold out, just fucking crazy. We remember them. We had some of the demos leaked or some rehearsals leaked. So we had some, inside kind of stuff, and we felt a part of it. And it's funny because I remember I went to, music was starting to get pretty heavy, 84, 85. There's a lot of new heavy stuff. Slayer was coming out, and, there was a lot of stuff like that. And I remember going to it was the New Year's Eve show. It was 3 months before Master of Puppets was going to drop. And it was Metallica headlining, Exodus supporting, Megadeth second, and Metal Church opening. Random show, right? They got David Mustaine.
Are you kidding?
This is in San Francisco at the Bill Graham Civic, which is a big, it's a big hall. It was not sold out by any stretch.
But Megadeth was on that bill?
Yeah, and Megadeth somehow agreed to play under Exodus, and Bonded by Blood was already out, so they were fucking killing it. And I remember that night Metallica playing Master of Puppets and Disposable Heroes. And it could have been because I was on too much speed and too much vodka or whatever. But I remember going
to me.
I was like, I don't know about these 2 new songs. And I loved Ride the Lightning and loved everything I've Kill 'Em All. But I was like, I don't know, man. And then the record dropped, and I was just like, oh my God, holy shit. They took it to
an extraordinary record.
Yeah, I mean, how involved?
It's their landmark
A&R. Hey, as an A&R guy, how involved are you in, what's going on leading up to Master of Puppets?
This is a funny story. Listen, even at their very early age, when everyone was calling them Alcoholica, true.
Yeah. Totally true.
I felt that these were young people who always knew what they wanted to do. I felt that hearing those first 2 records, the progression from Kill 'Em All to Ride the Lightning was massive. The songwriting, the structure, the arrangements, everything. And I thought, these people know what they're fucking doing. So it comes time to make Master of Puppets, and they don't want me in the studio. And I'm like, guys, we're giving you a lot of money. I have to know what is going on.
Are you hearing demos? Are you hearing demos up to this point?
So, of course, I give in, but I said, Lars, you have to check in with me every week, and I have to hear music. So, overseas, he would send me cassettes. I don't even know if he sent DATs. I don't think DATs.
Yeah, they're in Copenhagen recording that record, right?
Right, and with Fleming at Sweet Silence.
Yes.
So I was getting cassettes of parts of songs, not even the whole fucking
God.
song. But he was diligent. He kept sending me, and I gotta find some of those cassettes somewhere. Anyway, and I just thought to myself, you know what? I gotta just also have blind faith. They don't want anybody there. At this point, Q Prime are managing them, and they're very heavy-handed about it. And I get along with Cliff Bernstein beautifully. But, you know, it's like that's what they wanted. I was satisfied hearing all this stuff, that when I got the masters, I lost my mind. It was so extraordinary. And it was even more elevated than the first two albums were. So I take the tapes and I go over to the late, great George Marino at Sterling Sound, and I master the album there.
Oh, you master it?
Oh, yes.
Crazy.
With George Marino. He was the master.
And none of the band guys?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Crazy.
No. Just me. And it was an extraordinary experience. It really was. So I called Cliff Bernstein and I said, I got the lacquers. And so he comes to my office. If there was a 12 instead of 1 to 10 on the volume, we were listening to Master at 10. That the whole office down the way, that everyone was complaining. But you know what? I do A&R. What do you think's going to happen? And so Cliff Bernstein and I are like losing our shit in my office. And
Cliff Bernstein is Metallica's manager, in case anybody doesn't know that.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Sorry,
one of the two managers.
One of the two
managers.
Peter Mensch is the other guy. But it was mostly Cliff Bernstein that I dealt with all the time. And we both lost our mind. And George Marino was such an he passed on, but he was such an incredible technician that I don't remember having to go back a second time to go, could you tweak this a little? It was perfect. So it's mixed by Michael Wagner? Oh, that's correct. Sorry. The great Michael Wagner mixed that album. That is correct.
Yeah. And he mixes that somewhere in like LA or something? Like, are you involved in any of that?
No. I also, again, I just heard music as Michael was doing it, but at least I got complete songs from Michael, you know? I don't think he was living in Nashville then, so he might have been in Los Angeles still. I can't tell you. We'll have to look on the back of the album.
Right.
But so I don't know where we're going with this, but that's okay.
I don't know. I'm just asking you questions like just, you know, what I'm trying to think like what songs are coming to you, like what parts of songs, and like if you're like, what the fuck is this?
Well, in the end, all of it. But you know, if you asked me back then, I think Cliff was the most proficient of all of the musicians in the band back then. Like Cliff had this sound that no other, I didn't think any other young bass player had. He was extraordinary. He was a lovely human being. I didn't have much connection with him. I'm East Coast, they're West Coast. So I mostly got to see him when they were on the road, and I would go on the road to see them live. He was a really lovely human being. And then, of course, in '86, you know, they're in Sweden, late night, the end of September, 27th or 28th. The bus slips on black ice, turns over, and, of course, we all know that it killed Cliff Burton that night. I don't know how we got to where we are right this minute, but that Saturday or Sunday morning, I got a phone call from Cliff Bernstein at Q Prime, and he said, real bad news. And like, what could Cliff be telling me about bad news on a Saturday or Sunday morning? He said Cliff Burton was killed last night, and when the bus turned over. I had no, you know, we talked for a few minutes, and then my mind just, like, I don't know where my mind was. I remember pacing in my apartment. I called Bob Krasnow, the chairman of Elektra. On Monday, I called a meeting in the conference room. I let everybody know what was going on, and it was so sad. It was so sad.
That must have been rough.
It was awful.
That was been terrible. I mean, especially your band. You know, that you just signed.
Yeah. 2 years prior, yes.
Right.
And listen, this was the band who just kept rising in popularity. They were exploding as right. And
didn't they did a Wasp tour or something for the first thing of that, right?
Oh wait, that's right. I did see
Electra,
them.
Did Electra? Because I was like, I remember hearing about that. I was like, Wasp. I was like, what the fuck?
Yep, I did see them with Wasp. Could that have been really early on at
that would have been Masters
as well?
Maybe that's what I'm confusing. Okay, and then they did the Ozzy run. They did Ozzy, right?
Totally Ozzy. But to finish off that little bit, I don't know, that week I spoke to Lars. I probably spoke to everybody in the band. Listen, nobody that young unless it's, a parent. But, here they are, these young people, they're exploding, and basically their brother gets killed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they had no idea. Everybody's in a daze. Everybody goes out to San Francisco, me, Scott Ian, everybody from Exodus. We all go to the funeral. We all wind up at the Burton's home, drinking. And one day I get a call at my office at Elektra in New York, and Lars says, you know what? We got to move forward here. We can't stay dormant. Cliff would want this. We want this. Help us out. We need a bass player. I was just getting ready to sign Flotsam and Jetsam, and Jason had sent me Doomsday for the Deceiver. It was a one-off that they did with Brian Slagle at Metal Blade, and I thought, oh, geez, here we go. I don't want to interfere with Flotsam, but Jason, even at that very young age, had that same spirit, that same gung-ho, that same charisma that I thought, you know what, he's the guy. So when Lars called me, that's who I recommended. Lars called Brian Slagle, that's who Brian recommended. So they're hearing about Jason from two of their friends, professional friends. So Jason goes out and auditions, and he gets the job.
Yeah.
He gets the job. Incredible.
Yeah.
Really incredible.
It is. Do you sign Flotsam?
I did. I signed Flotsam, and I made No Place for Disgrace with them. And that same time period, I pick up Metal Church from Seattle. They had a little album out called Metal Church. I must have given them $10,000. We sold 50,000 records or so. I love Metal Church. And we then make the second record I do with them, first for Elektra, is called The Dark. And it's an incredible record. Mark Dodson from the UK produced it. So, those were the bands that I was working with in the 80s.
Yeah. You, somewhere in here, you leave shortly around here, right? Like
I leave Elektra in 1989. I leave
1989.
Only because
before Black Album. After
before the Black Album, believe it or not. I leave because of money. Bob Krasnow loved me. I had carte blanche there, but he would not give me the raise that I really wanted. And Geffen Records had heard about me, and they knew that I was like the guy on the street. A lot of people talking about me because of the signing, because I was out every night. And I had a meeting with David Geffen's office, and they offered me a six-figure job, and I take the job. Keep in mind, I'm not moving to LA, so I was in their satellite office. I signed Kane Roberts from Alice Cooper's band, and I signed White Zombie. And I was there for 3 years. I was totally unhappy. I called Bob Krasnow at Elektra. I said, Bob, can I come back? He says, yes. But soon after that, Bob leaves, and I called Geffen Records back. I said, oh my God. They say, yeah. Well, listen, all these corporate people, all they know about is money and are you successful?
Right.
So, Elektra, Geffen. Elektra, Geffen. That's 20 years right there. And, I never left anywhere on a bum note. It was always about money. And I'm not greedy or anything, but, I wanted to make money. I was doing justice to these major labels. Anyway, so I don't know where we're going with this, but, Yeah, I signed White Zombie to Geffen, and it's a great, funny story.
And this is like is this the record that leads up to like 69 and all that, 1969 and all that?
Yes. So, they made a bunch of records for Caroline.
Yes.
Oh, boy, very noisy.
Not very good, yeah. Like kind of just...
noisy. It's nothing to do with metal either. It was, I guess, if people were calling that music alternative then, it was alternative. So my friend Daniel Ray is shopping 3 bands at one point. I'm at Geffen in New York. He's shopping Raging Slab, Circus of Power, and White Zombie. Nobody wants White Zombie at all. But Raging Slab and Circus get signed to RCA Records.
I remember that. They did that cover of they did a good cover, The Circus of Power. It was like an R&B cover that they did that was pretty cool.
They did?
They did. Chain
of Fools?
I think they did Chain of Fools. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else, but
oh boy.
Okay.
I don't know.
Francis. Circus of Power, Chain of Fools. Let me know if I'm right. Text me.
So we Daniel says, Michael, nobody wants this band. Will you come see them? So I said, absolutely, because I trusted my friend Daniel's ears. And I go to a little hole in the wall in the East Village. It was under a restaurant. And it's like the walls were painted black. They were in the corner making some friggin' noise. Dreadlocks are all over the place. They're sweating up a storm. The stage is maybe this high off the ground.
Is there a lot of people?
No.
Yeah.
Handful, really. Honest to God, handful. And I love them. I love them. And when they're done, I talked to Robb and Shauna and Jay and Ivan, and they were the sweetest people I ever met in my whole life. And even back then, Robb says to me, Rob Zombie, he says, you know what, Michael, have faith in us or confidence. I don't know the word he used. He says, I think we could be big with your help. And you know what? Eventually I want to make films. And you know what? I believed him.
Wow.
And I also, he was another one of those people like yourself who has this thing on stage, that fucking it factor that you cannot buy. I just got chills. You either have it or you don't have it. You can't buy that. You can't teach somebody that. Oh, now my head is tingling and I'm sweating. And so I signed them. They have no songs.
Right.
There's a lot of work to be done with them. They finally do come to the table with a bunch of tunes. And we love Seasons in the Abyss. We love that sound. So we hire Andy Wallace to produce and mix the album. Yes. And that was the first album, La Sexorsisto, Devil Music.
Yeah, there's so much Slayer on that record. It's funny that you mentioned that because there's a lot of Slayer on that record. You can hear all the riff wise. And
yes, sir. So, I signed them. Funny story. And for your audience out there, I have a book out because now I could be a little shameless. I have a book out called, it came out just a couple months ago, called I Am Michael Alago, Breathing Music, Signing Metallica, Beating Death. Here we are.
Nice. Look at that
plug.
Look at
$20
that book.
$20 on Amazon. But there's a great White Zombie story in there. So we're making the record. And I let everybody know. I'm telling everybody it was million seller. I hold the marketing meetings. And at one of the marketing meetings, we see that it has stalled dead at 180,000 records.
The records.
And everybody's looking at me like, Alago, what are we doing now? Well,
how long is this into the album cycle?
Months.
Yeah, a few months.
Not long.
Yeah.
I mean, there was progress. They were being taught. They were a band, not a massive, the way Metallica were being talked about, but everybody couldn't believe that White Zombie were on a major, and they were talked about. So we also make that little video for 1965, Thunder Kiss, and don't you know that these two friggin' idiots, Beavis and Butthead, decide that White Zombie is their favorite band. And what happens then? Without any help, without tour support, without money, it was just a thing. They play that video morning, noon, and night. And months later, shot to 1 million units.
Yeah. I mean, that was crazy, right? I mean, like, that was just a phenomenon.
It was a phenomenon. That's right.
The power of Beavis and Butthead at that point.
MTV and Beavis and Butthead.
I don't think anybody can understand. I mean, like if you're not born in that era and like remember, like it was like Beavis and Butthead was a phenomenon, its own phenomenon
unto itself.
And then any band that they played, they'd either, some bands they loved and other bands they just fucking ripped to shreds. And it was awesome because we were like, yeah, those bands fucking suck. That's right. Fuck them.
Oh, they were crazy. Fire,
we were always
fire.
always on the fucking, they always shredded the glam bands and we always fucking shit on the glam. We really were like fucking, Cherry Pie or whatever that crap was.
They were extraordinary. I mean, what a great cartoon. So, that was the thing. But, just so you know, like during the making of this record, which really there's I don't say it just because it's my book, but because if you love rock and roll, you love metal, you love rock history, I give you a taste of all that shit in my book. So at one point, Robb wants a voice speaking on the record. So what do? We call Vincent Price.
Yes. Fuck yeah.
So we call 10, 15 times. His manager says,
he's like, I already did Thriller, man.
Well, he said I had such a bad time.
Oh, really?
That record. I never want to do anything like that again. Now, my assistant, Tony.
Why did he have a bad time on Thriller?
I don't remember. It was just,
right.
He never wanted to do anything involved with music ever again.
Crazy.
So I had an assistant. She was awesome. And she knew how to, she was a real, lady. And she knew how to finesse everything. She got through to Vincent Price.
Wow.
And they talked. And he said, you are so persistent that I'm going to do this.
Nice.
So
how awesome.
Little
That's
do
amazing.
we know, and he doesn't tell us because, we don't know the guy. We're just a pain in the ass to him. That it was this point in time when we needed the voice in the studio. And he was suffering from a lot of different things. I think it was the onset of a dementia, a lot of different illnesses. And unfortunately, he never got to be on the record. But damn it, my assistant Tony got to speak to him. I also had to speak to, and I loved it, for all you people out there, I don't know if you know Russ Meyer. Do you know Russ? Wait, Robb Flynn, you don't know Russ Meyer?
I'm not ringing a bell at the moment.
Russ Meyer made B movies. All chicks with big tits.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
Faster Pussycat, Kill.
Yes. Yes. Okay, yeah.
And
I know his movies.
Those are the type of movies he was making. Faster Pussycat, Kill, which is more famous. He made other films, and so I call him up.
Really bad films in the 50s that had awesome 60s, shit. And that's what zombie 60s. Yeah.
They were brilliant movies. I'm all in black and white mostly.
Right.
I mean, totally. Really, I at one point. Okay, so anyway, so I have to call Russ Meyer, and I call him up, and I said, hi, this is Michael Alago from Geffen Records. May I please speak to Russ Meyer? He said, this is Russ Meyer. I'm sitting here with a double hernia. What do you want?
Nice.
I'm friggin' mortified. And I said, well, I signed a little metal group called White Zombie, and we'd like to, and this was the era of sampling. And, everybody was being sampled illegally. But being for a major, I couldn't do that. So I said, there's a line in Faster Pussycat that's get up and kill. Can we just rip it from the movie? He said, how much you paying me? I said, we can give you $1,000. He said, when can you send me the money? I said, in a few days. How do I know you're going to send it? I said, okay, listen. I'm going to send you a one sheet to let you know what it is we're doing. I'm going to fax it to you.
Fax. Right.
And so I fax it to him. 2 days later, he faxes it back. And I got to go to our head of business affairs, who was slow as molasses. And I said, Gary, please, I love this guy. So please give me the $1,000 like right now. So I priority mail it back to him. I said, he calls me, he says, you're an honest guy. Did you say you worked for Mr. David Geffen? I said, I do. You think he wants to give me a $500,000 so I could finish Beyond the Valley of the Ultra Vixens? Like, that was not David's thing at all. I said I could ask, but highly unlikely. So after that, I had a correspondence with Russ Meyer for about 2 years until he got sick, and I saved everything he ever sent me. And
what was he sending you? Like,
well, he sent me
memorabilia?
He sent me all of his movies on VHS.
Wow.
He would just send me little notes that you sound like a fun guy. And I would write him back, like, I just love you. I'm like a really big fan. And on that letter, he would cross out all my words and put, you sound like a dedicated person. And he would send me a 5x7 of him holding up a bra with coconuts in it, like to Michael Meyer. I mean, it was really, I was amazed that he even cared. But that went on for about 2 years. And then there's a 3-volume set called A Clean Breast. And it was everything Russ Meyer. And then after a while, like he got ill and I never heard from him again. But it really was something else.
He really did. Like, he was definitely pushed the envelope with large-breasted women in movies. It was great. It was great
really,
shit.
You know, he made a movie, I'll tell you, called Lorna. If you've not seen Lorna, Lorna. Lorna. You really need to watch Lorna if you can find it. It is outrageous. And Russ Meyer, I love Russ Meyer. I think he's incredible. So anyway, that's my little, there's probably some more stuff with White Zombie, but, you know, read about it in the book. And it became a million seller. Maybe it might have even been a double platinum record at some point. And that
thing went a gajillion platinum, didn't it? Like, it just fucking
after a few years, but that year, within that year, like I said, we didn't do anything. We were still trying to figure out what to do when all of a sudden that video got played on, you know, and everybody at all the majors wanted their band on MTV. It was the thing to do then. We didn't even have to lift a finger.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. And then it just happened. And then it became
and then one night at Roseland, White Zombie and Pantera are playing, but everybody from Anthrax is backstage. Everybody's backstage, and we're all screaming and hollering. And this little guy walks in, and we're like, can I help you? And he said, my name is Mike Judge. You never saw anybody fucking drop their beer. Scott Ian gets like a handkerchief. And I'm like, could you sign my hand? We were all like, wow. It was like one of those, we are not worthy. And he was so cool. And like, of course, White Zombie couldn't thank him enough for that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was incredible. In a lot of ways.
It was those years were incredible times. Like, I'm in the middle of it all. I'm an A&R guy. I got the world by the balls. I'm drinking a little too much. But you know what? I did that for 25 years, and I had a ball.
Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine. And you've got a major label checkbook, you know, to write checks with. So it's like, you want to go take people out on the town. It's like, you got, I mean, this is in the 80s and the 90s when fucking the fucking budgets for fucking records back then, it was fucking crazy. Like, it's nothing like that now, you know, like it's totally different.
You can't even get $1 out of these fuckers. And, you know, record companies are not what they used to be at all whatsoever. You get minimum advances. You get minimum. You get a minimum deal. You're lucky if you get tour support from these people. It's a different time. I was blessed and grateful to do this from 1980, the beginning of my career, 80 to 2005. It's 25 years of constant insanity. during that period, I developed a bad alcohol and crack addiction. I had to go to rehab. Didn't want to go, of course. And
While you're A&Ring?
oh yeah. But you know, the wild thing was I showed up for work every day.
Damn.
I don't know how. Well, I do. I showed up. I would lock my door until the hangover lifted at like 3 p.m, and then I'd start calling people. You know, I don't know how I did it, and I don't know how I never got fired. I was very good at my job. I had an intense addiction. I did wind up going to rehab, and during that time period, I became HIV positive. At some point in '90, I developed full-blown AIDS. There was no medicine at all whatsoever. My immune system was fucking shot. That if you came near me, I could contract anything there. I was on my sofa for a year. I had an extraordinary doctor who was on the forefront of medicine. She was a big old lesbian who used to ride her bike to my house at 5 o'clock in the morning before she would do the rounds at the AIDS wards at St. Vincent. She just liked me. And she did everything to keep me alive. She said, I don't want to get you to get pneumonia. We're going to shoot you up every day with IVs of pentamidine. We don't have medicine. We're going to shoot you up here with vitamin drips. You know, I always tell people who don't know about that period of time, if you saw the Matthew McConaughey movie, Dallas Buyers Club, that's what it was like. Everybody was filled with fear. There were pills from friggin' Mexico. I don't even know what the fuck the pills were. But if Barbara said take them, I took them.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
About a year later, there was a pill called AZT. And she said to me, Michael, as your primary care physician, I got to tell you, I don't want you to take this. I said, Barbara, you're keeping me alive. I'm not taking it. Well, FDA approved it way too early. Everybody took it, AZT. They gave everybody, they didn't know what the formula was, too much, too little. They gave everybody too much, and everyone died from it that I knew.
Holy shit.
Oh, yeah. The whole gay community, San Francisco, everybody who was experiencing this on a massive level. So I just laid there, and everybody would come over crying, and I was skinny. I was a skeleton. I had what they called wasting syndrome, and I was wasting away. And then a year later, she says, we have something, you have to take it. And I took it, and maybe another 6 months went by. I was this skinny. I was back at Electra. I was doing my fucking job. You know, it's the 90s. And, you know, people talk like, can we hug him? Can we shake his hand?
I mean, yeah, this is, I mean, I want to say like in 90, still nobody really had any not that we really have an understanding now, but back then nobody knew anything. You know, I mean,
anyway,
what do you, when you find out you have AIDS, do you have to reach out to your former lovers and let them know that this is what you have? Sure.
But you know what? Well, when I knew I was HIV positive, that I had the virus, I did tell friends and lovers. I kept it at very quiet because it was a scary thing to tell people back then, you know? Yeah. So, and I always felt it was nobody's business. The scariest part was when I had to tell my mother. And my mother's is like 4'10", old school Hispanic woman. You think she knows about it, you know, STD. I think my mother had sex twice, when she had me and when she had my sister. And I had to tell her, you know, Mom, I'm very, very sick. And, you know, it was just sad. It was sad.
And she knows that you have AIDS?
I was HIV positive.
HIV positive.
Yeah. That was 84. I don't develop. I was just positive, and I don't develop it until 6 years later. I had a strong constitution, but it took a long time, unfortunately, or whatever. And that's when I got sick. And you know, These days, there's what they call a cocktail. I never got sick like that again. I have my lungs are fucking shot. So in the winter, I got to be very, very careful. I don't drink or drug anymore, coming up on 13 years. I take a couple of pills at night before I go to bed. And I have my immune system. You can't even, when I get my blood done every 6 months, you don't even, it's at zero. Zero. That's a fucking miracle, Rob.
That's incredible.
Everybody is fucking dead that I know from back then, except a couple of people. So, you know, I'm a miracle. I am blessed. I'm grateful every day when I friggin' wake up because that was 30 years ago. And I'm 60 now. And no trace of it in my body.
That's incredible, man.
Oh,
I didn't even know that was possible. Like,
well, what happens is you until they even find a cure for HIV, you're still positive. I had, like I said, I never got full blown again. And my T cells and my immune system now, 30 years later, is very, very good. And the virus is not replicating. So it's at zero.
Right.
You can't give it to anybody. I don't feel any different than great these days. And like I said, I think it helped not doing crack and taking my meds with vodka, you know? So I'm a healthy 60-year-old guy who's still crazy, except I don't drink or drug over it anymore. And did
you go from cocaine to crack, or did you just go straight to crack? Yeah, okay, gotcha.
No.
There was a gradual progression.
I did pot like a couple times. It made me paranoid. Honey,
yeah, oh my God, same here. Makes me fucking so paranoid. Yeah. Beer,
vodka, Jägermeister, blackout, withdrawals in the middle of the night from ATM machines, cocaine, oh, what's this thing that everybody's smoking? Oh, I better start doing crack. I'll tell you a funny story. I'm out at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I see this handsome guy on the street, and I'm like, dude, I got crack in my pocket. You want to come home with me? He said, no, I'm a policeman. You're under arrest. I was like, what? I was furious. So I whip my dick out, and I piss all over him. He grabbed me by the scruff of my neck. I'm surprised he didn't beat the shit out of me. He flung me at the edge of the undercover van that he was in, handcuffed me, and I start crying. I'm like, oh my God. Officer, you can't do this to me. I'm like a good person after I just pissed on his fucking leg. And, you know, he brought me to jail. I'm furious, but I'm so fucked up. That, you know, my friend Danny Fields, who I was friends with, I'm still friends with Danny Fields 40 years later. Danny Fields discovered the MC5, the Stooges, and the Ramones. And he had my job at Elektra in the 60s. So I called Danny, and I said, Danny, I'm in jail. He said, what did you do now? I said, doesn't matter. I need something.
You're in L.A.?
No. I only went to LA when I had to. I said,
gotcha. Okay.
Can you come get me? He said, yeah, what did you? I said, I'm right down the block from you at the holding place. He said, I'll be there in a few minutes. So I got booked and everything, and he got me out, and we laughed about it. But
we need the Michael Alago mugshot. We need a T-shirt of the Michael Alago mugshot. We got to get that. We got to find that. I got to
find out
that would be fucking awesome.
You know what?
That would be amazing.
I'm going down the street today, and I'm going to go to the guy's offices. Listen, man.
I'm the guy who signed Metallica. Give me my fucking mugshot.
Can you give me my? You know what? That would be the best thing ever. I'm going to look for the mugshot, and you'll be the first person I tell. So anyway,
I'm looking for my mugshot. I got a couple mugshots.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I got like 3
but you
mugshots.
know, in that craziness, all sorts of shit. Like I'd wake up hungover, not remembering getting on a plane, and the next thing I was in a crack den in New Orleans. Don't know how I got there. And I thought all that stuff was normal. So at one point,
in some ways it was like the people, you know, there was so much drug use and, you know,
everybody was doing it.
Everybody was doing it.
So anyway, finally one day I'm 47 years old, and I thought, whoa, my liver hurts, my heart hurts, my soul hurts. I'm fried. And somebody said, dude, you need to go to AA. I was furious again. So I went to an AA meeting that Sunday, October 21st, 2007. I went, I sat there, I listened, and I thought, I got to do something. And I stayed.
Yeah.
So I'm coming up on 13 years. Now in the time of coronavirus, everybody's on Zoom for different reasons. I go to my AA Zoom meeting 7 days a week, 9 o'clock in the morning. That helps my head to stay clean and clear and never want that life again.
Yeah.
So, 12 years ago, I got a new life. And if I stayed clean and sober, I could do anything again. So I decided to stay clean and sober. And in my new life, I take photographs. I got this little band from South Florida signed to Century Media. And I'll be shameless again. They're called Ether Coven. They're so heavy. When I send you my book, I'll send you their album. Ether Coven, people. They will never get on the radio. They are, if you know Anselmo's band Scour, or I Hate God, or Swans, or I don't know. They're that heavy. And the record's called Everything is Temporary Except Suffering. They are fantastic. So I'm always still out there. I'm always listening to music. I'm always, during when I stopped working at the labels in 2005, in 2009 and 2010, Cyndi Lauper called, and I A&R to, I was the executive for 2 of her records. So I'm out there all the time. I'm still crazy, except I don't drink or drug anymore. And like you mentioned earlier, I have a documentary on Netflix called Who the Fuck Is That Guy? The Fabulous Journey of Michael Alago. And it's been on Netflix over 2 years now because it's so wildly popular.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
That's a long time. That's a long time to be on Netflix.
No.
Shit fades away real quick.
6 months later, you can't find it there. So now, after 2.5 years there, it's still there. As of this year, it's on Amazon Prime as well. And it's just one of those things that, everybody wants to see Metallica. Everybody wants to see Rob Zombie and Doyle and Cyndi Lauper and Anselmo. Even though I never really worked with him, we've become great friends. So John Lydon, my all-time favorite, John Lydon.
Sex Pistols. Yeah.
We've been friends 39 years. 39 years, and we never had a bad word with each other.
Yeah, he's great. He's great in that, man.
Absolutely.
Everybody needs to watch that movie just to hear Rob Zombie tell the story of how Michael Alago used to pick up guys at CBGB's and then show them the Polaroids the day after.
Excuse me, never mind. Rob and I would go to the Sunday hardcore matinees, and I would say, Rob, I gotta go. There's that monster, and he'd be like, "Oh, Michael, please don't do it. Don't do it. He's gonna fucking kick your ass." The next day or the day after, I said, because me and Rob, when they were still in New York, we were tight, and we would have coffee, and I'd whip out the Polaroid, and he went, "Wait, that's that guy from the other night?" I said, "Yeah, got him home." Honey,
are your Polaroids like dick pics, or are they in the?
Sometimes
are they like porn things?
Sometimes they're porn related, and sometimes they're just like I have no idea. Sometimes they're tattoos. Sometimes they're just the person's face. Honey, I was crazy. I'm still crazy. It's all good.
I thought it was great that he told that story. I was like, "Fuck, that's fucking awesome."
I gotta just tell you something, Rob. When Juice Stone wanted to make the movie, I didn't want it to be a movie that was about metal.
Right.
If you're gonna spend all that time with me, we gotta go the gamut. So it's about my 25 years as an music executive. It's about addiction. It's about recovery. It's about being ill in the 90s, and it's about being clean and sober and having a life that I am grateful for. you know, because I wake up in my own bed. I wake up clear and focused. I am a responsible human being that people can rely on me. When I say I'm going to be somewhere and I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So, you know, that's the beauty for me personally about being clean and sober. So, you know, I tell the truth all the time. And when you tell the truth, people want to just listen to you. And I think that's part of the success of the film, that it runs the gamut. And everybody, gay, straight, black, white, young, old, everybody can relate to the movie because it's a story about a life. And I lived. Yeah. It would have been a fucking cliche if it was sex, drugs, rock and roll, and the poor fuck died. But I lived.
Yeah, you lived, and it really, like, it's better than a fucking Behind the Music. You know, like, it was so fucking. I mean, what a crazy, amazing life you've had.
Well,
like,
it's
real.
A
fucking incredible life. Yeah, it's an incredible life.
Yeah, real stuff.
I'm so glad that shout out to Drew Stone, man, because I know Drew Stone did our second video ever.
No.
Machine Heads. Yeah, he did the video for Old.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, so shout out to Drew. He's fucking awesome. He did the old video for us.
And our producer, Michael Alex, who Michael was at MTV for the first 18 years of its inception. He wound up being our producer and a great guy on the film. So Drew Stone, Michael Alex. Yep.
Is it true? Let me end you with this. Is it true? We always heard in Machine Head that I first of all, let me just set this up. Michael Alago had the biggest fucking crush on Logan Mader ever. Like, I remember you came to a Roseland show when we were touring with Pantera, and you came up to Logan, and you were talking. You're like, hi, but then the look on your face was just like. And Logan had just come off stage. He's dreadlocks and sweaty and chest fucking tattoos and all this shit. We heard that you had a life-sized photograph of Logan in your office back then.
No, not true. But the minute I saw Logan, I thought, oh boy, I better not go to their concert drunk.
I want to get some Polaroids of that boy.
I was toasted, and I was like, oh my God, I love Logan Mader. And, you know, funny enough, Rob, I didn't see y'all for many, many years. And I just, at the beginning of 2020, I got in touch with Logan, and I said, you know that I've loved y'all for so many years, and I'd love to come and see your show. So I came to the show. It was fantastic. And I got to see Logan. I came to soundcheck that day, and I shot really incredible portraits of him.
Oh, shit. Awesome.
Yeah, they're really incredible. So I'm working on this black and white book, and, you know, I shot Billy Biohazard. I'm going to shoot Mina from Life for Agony. I shot this guy, Ultramantis Black, who has a punk rock group. He's a wrestler who always is masked for my book. So it's going to be like this black and white portrait book that's rock and roll, tattoos, and I think it's going to be good. I need a publisher. But that show, Rob, at Webster Hall was phenomenal. And I do feel about you like I feel about James and about Rob Zombie, that you are phenomenal on stage. And like I said, you can't buy that shit. So thank you for the great music.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And that's the Webster Hall's the Ritz.
That is correct.
Where you used to work. How crazy. You know, like, that's nuts.
Crazy. And doesn't look like it used to look anymore. But it was fun to go there and see y'all there.
It was great to see you. That was a fucking awesome night. We had a great time catching up.
And here we are now. So thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you for being on No Fucking Regrets. Really appreciate having you, man.
Ain't that awesome. The truth?
Yeah, no fucking regrets, man.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? That's why we're still here.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Michael Alago coming at you here on No Fucking Regrets.